Let him go, old man. I ain't afraid of him, and I sure as hell ain't afraid of you. That boy owes me something, and I've come to collect. Okay, before I begin, I should probably explain a few things for those who don't know much about Hellboy. Well, Hellboy is a half-demon paranormal investigator known for his sardonic wit. He and his mythos sprung from the mind of one Mike Mignola, who wrote and drew many Hellboy stories, though other artists have also contributed as well. One of Hellboy's noticeable characteristics is that despite his appearance and occasional grumpiness, he's never tempted by his demonic heritage. Also, this probably wasn't going to be my first choice for a Hellboy story to cover on the channel, but with the movie coming out, why not? It's a decent short story, won the 2009 Eisner Award for a limited comic series, though to be fair, Hellboy is a regular at the Eisners, and is one of the many short stories that focused on Hellboy's solo adventures after he quit the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, BPRD, following the events of the story Conqueror Worm. Long story. However, as we will see, this story, in particular, takes place in the past way before the present day in the comics, which is when he was a BPRD agent, so... Well, let's dive into... Hellboy investigates a case in the Appalachian Mountains where a young lady has been rendered comatose as a result of witchcraft. However, a young man suddenly arrives and defends the witch, Cora Fisher, who is believed to be behind it all, and asks Hellboy to go visit her with him, thinking she's a victim. The young man, Tom Farrell, takes Hellboy to the witch's house, where they discover her skin lying on her bed like a discarded snakeskin. As they wait for her to return, Tom tells Hellboy his story. When he was around 15, he was seduced by a witch named Effie Kolb, who taught him witchcraft, specifically how to use a bone to summon the devil. In doing so, because he was a stupid 15-year-old, he summons the Crooked Man. Tom had heard a lot of tales about the Crooked Man. In life, he was a miser who loved stirring up trouble for the sole purposes of making money. He'd make a killing in the modern day. But eventually, he was caught and his two-timing ass was put to death. And then he was sent back from hell to do what he was always doing. Luckily, 15-year-old Tom comes back to his senses and runs back to his home, where he finds a frog waiting for him, which doesn't bode well in the Hellboy universe. So he ran away from home and became a wanderer, never using the power of the bone, though he never let go of it. Meanwhile, the witch returns home and settles inside her skin. Turns out, Cora lost her husband and kids and was eventually turned to witchcraft by the Crooked Man's followers. Speaking of which, Effie Kolb shows up riding on a decrepit-looking horse, who is actually Tom's father, who dies the moment Effie releases him. Tom plans to bury his dearly departed dad in a church that's close to Crooked Man's territory. Unfortunately, on the way, Cora is killed by the Crooked Man's followers, by exploding into 1,000 disgusting creepy crawlies. Tom uses his bone to save himself and Hellboy, which means he used the Crooked Man's power for the first time consciously. They reach the church, which is under the care of the blind priest Reverend Watts, but are soon surrounded by the Crooked Man's followers, and the Crooked Man himself, who is here for Tom. The Crooked Man tries tempting both Hellboy and the Reverend, and accidentally lets slip that he actually wants the bone from Tom, because it's imbibed with the power of hell, and a miser like him can't let anything go. This causes the Reverend to realize what he needs to do. He purifies the bone and uses it to draw a cross on a shovel. Hellboy, finally getting to do something, takes it and whacks the Crooked Man with it. After burying his father in the church's cemetery, Tom and Hellboy visit the hideout of the Crooked Man, who is actually a giant spider centipede scorpion thing. Tom flicks the bone at him, sending the Crooked Man back to hell. And the story ends with Tom turning a now old Effie Kolb into a horse like she did to his dad. You may have realized that for a Hellboy story, there is actually not that much focus on him. Outside of whacking the Crooked Man with the holy shovel, he mostly reacts to everything around him with what I would probably describe as a seen-it-all kind of attitude. The protagonist of this story is actually Tom, who brings a chapter of his life to a close, having finally gotten himself out from under the Crooked Man's thumb. Actually, a lot of Hellboy stories could be described as follows. Hellboy goes to a place, something violent and weird wants to kill or corrupt him, and Hellboy knocks the stuffing out of them. This isn't a critique, mind you. Hellboy isn't Saitama. He doesn't effortlessly defeat everything that comes his way. He does take his fair share of beatings, which keeps us intrigued as to how he'll get out of this one. Another thing you may have noticed is that people aren't afraid of Hellboy. Like, nobody goes, "Oh no, it's the devil, he's gonna eat my soul!" Which is honestly refreshing. I've read way too many stories where the public hates and fears its protectors. So many Marvel stories. So it's nice to see that people recognize that Hellboy is actually on their side. There are a few reasons for this. For starters, the world where Hellboy lives is just weird. And I like that Mignola takes into account that people would irrevocably change their viewpoints if they saw witches and werewolves and frogs, trust me, they are a bad sign in this universe, on a regular basis. Also, the BPRD went public with Hellboy years ago, so that also probably worked in his favor. The best part of all this is that throughout his story, Hellboy is never tempted to become evil. At least I haven't read any stories like that, if there are any. Like, he doesn't have an arc where he goes evil and his friends at the BPRD have to stop him and then he has to regain public trust. Ugh, I sound so bored just describing it. And we should all give a big thanks to the reason he never goes evil. Pancakes. I'm not kidding, but that's a story for another day. Most of the chatter around the trailer has been mild displeasure. However, honestly, I don't mind it. It does seem to utilize a lot of the comic's moments, so it does look to be a faithful adaptation, especially because Mignola himself seems to be working on this story. But I am willing to concede that this is an odd choice for an adaptation. Not only is it low-key, even by the comic standards, but this story is really short. Yeah, most Hellboy stories in the original run are short, except for a few like The Wild Hunt and Darkness Calls, but this one resolves itself pretty seamlessly by the end and is kind of isolated. Now, the isolated nature of this story could mean that the creators felt that they had a bit more wiggle room, but I do worry that the adaptation might end up a bit thin. Will I watch it? I don't know. I like Hellboy, but I don't think I've ever watched any of his adaptations in full. Yeah, even the Ron Perlman ones. I'm intrigued by this, but let's see. But hey, if I do, should I do a review of the movie? Let me know in the comments below.